This is the Fantasy Football Unlimited podcast with your host, Kevin Murray.
Welcome to the Fantasy Football Unlimited podcast. On this episode, we have a guest that has injected a ton of fun into the fantasy football community. She's a fantasy football enthusiast and an analyst at the Sports Affiliation. It's the one and only Gina Noble. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
It's a privilege to have you here. Seeing you at the expo was a ton of fun. We had, there's some fun times. I mean, that's what the expo is all about. And so it was great to meet you there. For listeners and viewers that may not be familiar with what you're doing, can you share what you're doing with the Sports Affiliation, and what is the Rank Draft Trade Fantasy Football podcast all about?
Yeah, so I don't know. JC took me in like a stray dog, I guess, to the Sports Affiliation. I'm having fun over there. I'm not doing anything set in stone on a weekly basis, but I pop in and guest a lot and give my opinion for whatever that's worth. Make people laugh and have a good time over there. Just kind of fitting in where I can. I don't have anything regular. So, but yeah, they've been great over there. I love everybody at the Sports Affiliation. Lots of great minds over there and lots of good information. And I share where I can. The Rank Draft podcast, the Rank Draft Trade podcast is actually a podcast that was started by Nick James, who I like to refer to as the person who kind of took me into fantasy and taught me his ways. He was my Yoda, my Jedi. And I was his little Padawan. Is that what it is?
Yeah, there you go.
So I'm learning from the master Jedi, but he started the Rank Draft Trade podcast, and we shared a lot of dynasty information. He was kind of the brains. I was the hostess. We haven't recorded an episode in a while. We're on a little bit of a hiatus, but great information. There's still, episodes available. But we worked on that for quite a while, and lots of information on how to value players, rank players, should I trade, should I keep in the dynasty world. So lots of redraft information out there. We were trying to tap into the dynasty world a little bit. So yeah, good information. That was my first experience into podcasting. So he's taught me everything I know. So I owe him a lot in this community as far as leagues go. I've been pretty successful under him. So thanks, Nick.
That's awesome. Did you I know you did win that Buffalo Wild Wings ring. I've seen that. I remember seeing that last year. What was that championship like for you?
Yeah, so that was actually one of those. So it was my church league.
Nice.
Thank you, God. They have called in some prayers. That was one, you always have like leagues that you are like, gosh, I really want to win this league. That was one of those. So that was my first season in the church league last year. My husband and I actually jumped into that, and I dominated. So we just drafted for that actually last night again, but I wore my Buffalo Wild Wings trophy ring. I went all like 1990s style around the neck on the chain. That thing was heavy too. Like that's legit. Like trophy smack definitely makes a amazing product. So I was like, oh, I don't know how long I can carry this around, but I'm gonna.
Yeah, no, I've seen it. I've held one of those. We hosted our home draft at Buffalo Wild Wings last year, so I got one of those rings and got to hand it out this last weekend in our league to the league champion, which was a heroic story. He went from last place to first place, so good times, in fantasy leagues, and I love seeing that you got that ring. You got to hold on that forever.
Yeah, the bragging rights was the best part, but that ring definitely was a close second.
Yeah, trophy smack them. They do it well. They do it well for sure.
Do.
Before we learn a little bit more about your passion for football, I've got one question for you. What did the ocean say to the beach?
What did the ocean say to the beach?
Nothing. It just waved.
That's a good one.
There we go. There we go. So you're a sports fan. When did you become a sports fan? When did you get that itch?
So I've been a sports fan my whole life. I was very athletic growing up. I was a swimmer. I was a volleyball player. I played softball. So super athletic. I had two older brothers who were athletic. So I was always trying to follow in their footsteps. Um, it's kind of funny because when it came to professional sports, it's a blessing and a curse. I'm super competitive, like stupid competitive. And I stayed away from professional sports for a while because I don't like to lose. I mean, I don't know many people are like, yeah, I can't wait to lose, but it pains me to
Yeah.
lose. So
Sure.
I always found like if I don't get overly involved, I don't have to be that invested and I don't have to feel really depressed when my team doesn't perform. But
Safe. That's a safe place to be.
yeah, it was kind of the easy way out. I always enjoyed sports. I just didn't get overly involved until fantasy football.
So who are your favorite teams? I know you're an Amon-Ross St. Brown fan. Like, who are your favorite players and teams at this stage?
Yeah. So I refer to myself as a football gypsy. I am kind of weird because I know everybody has like a love and a hate, like, oh my gosh, I can't stand this team. I don't really hate any teams. I don't really have any teams that I'm like, oh, I just can't stand to see them win. Um, the Lions have taken the top spot, which pains
Nice.
my husband as a diehard Green Bay Packer fan.
Oh, funny.
And we happen to be shareholders, so maybe I shouldn't say this out loud. They're gonna be like, excuse me, I'm taking that back.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Uh,
awesome.
yeah. So I do like the Green Bay Packers too. Like they're just, I feel like unless you're like a Vikings fan, you cannot dislike the Packers. They're just totally a vanilla team. Everybody needs to love Green Bay.
Yeah,
I
for
grew up
sure.
in Massachusetts, so by nature I should be a Patriots fan, and I did love like the Brady Gronk years, of course. And then when they brought Cam Newton on, they were dead to me. So I kind of moved on from them. I live
So
in
not
Carolina.
yeah, so not a Cam Newton fan, huh?
Oh my gosh, I lived through the whole like Superman and like the dab stage, and
Yeah.
I never ever want to go back to those days. So Cam was not my favorite. And it was during COVID that the Patriots brought Cam on. And I was like, it can get worse.
No, it's funny.
First COVID and now Cam.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's good. So as a sports fan, like, is there one moment, like a favorite moment of all time as a sports fan for you?
So, okay, this is not going to be football related. My
That's
husband
okay.
worked in NASCAR for 13 years, and I grew up actually a NASCAR fan, so big NASCAR family. He actually had a race. He was working for the NASCAR Truck Series, and Timothy Peters with Red Horse Racing was their driver. Love everything about Red Horse Racing. They're no longer in business now, but just the owners are great. I know them personally. And they led every single lap in Bristol and went on to win the race. And it was the coolest moment for him. And just like, that doesn't happen every day. So
Yeah.
I was not present for it. I was watching it on television, but I just remember just being like, oh my God, all the way to the end, like, he's going to do it. And Timothy Peters couldn't be a better guy for that to happen to. So that was probably the coolest, like, sports moment. Along with he has a championship ring in each of the series, the Truck Series,
Mm.
the Infinity Series, and the Cup Series. And so he was with Penske when Joey Logano won the championship, and I got to actually go to the championship party and be a part of that. So that was a really, really cool experience, and super proud of him for everything he did in the NASCAR world.
That's awesome. Well, yeah, I mean, sports, it doesn't matter if it's football or something else. I think that it's moments like that. A lot of times it is tied to something different, whether it's, your husband's experience or a family member, a connection you had, rooting for a team. There's a lot of cool stories I've heard out there, and I think that's a great one.
Yeah.
So when did you discover fantasy sports?
Oh, So I don't know the exact year now. I probably should have written that down, but I kind of didn't want to be involved for that long. But several years ago, my one of my friends had an opening in their home league. And that was my first ever fantasy league. My husband's like, oh yeah, this is a great idea. I'm like, this is a terrible idea. So he's played fantasy for a very long time. And we joke about it because he actually wrote in our wedding vows about like me putting up with his fantasy football because I loathed fantasy football. He was screaming, throw it to Shockey at the television. And I was like, I might punch you if you say that again.
Oh my
That
gosh.
was way back, just to give you an example of how far back.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so my friend was like, hey, we need more girls in the league and you and Craig should join. And Craig's like, yeah, you should. And I'm like, I don't know. I did not follow football at all. So I was like, how am I going to play a game again? Like, I don't like losing, that I know nothing about. And
Yeah.
Craig's like, you don't need to know anything about it. You'll be fine. I'm like, okay, I feel like this is a complete setup. So I don't do anything halfly. I jump in with both feet and I don't like to lose and I'm highly competitive. So I jumped in and I learned everything I could. And it was actually an auction draft. So
Oh my
imagine
gosh.
your very first fantasy football league is an auction draft. Like, oh my God.
That's wild.
So it was standard scoring and it was on ESPN. Yeah, like you needed like a million yards to get 1 point. And I went on to win. I won that year. And it was great. It was fun, but it was the most stressful like event of my entire life. I was a mess. Like I'm not even gonna lie. I was like, I hated this so much. I won. I have nothing left to prove. I'm retiring. I've got my earnings and like, I mean, come on, I'm done here. And
Yeah.
Craig's like, no, you can't leave now. So that was the beginning. And then it just spiraled from there and it's gotten out of control.
I think that's awesome. That's great.
Really gotten out of
So,
control.
do you remember like back then, like consuming any content? Do you remember any of the analysts you were aware of at that time?
Yeah, so like I had no idea this whole world existed at the
Yeah.
time. Like I had this very small section of the world that, I was looking at. I mean, a lot of it came from the ESPN app. I would study each one of the players and I would go to all the little blurbs. So most of it probably came from ESPN or, the NFL, just news like that. I really didn't realize that there were analysts and people
Yeah.
doing this. So that was probably the main part of what I did. And I'll tell you, there was not a day that went by that I wasn't on that waiver wire reading every single thing. And overthinking is my superpower. You should know that in life. I do it well. So it was daily, just like, oh my gosh, like, do I need to add this guy? Should I drop this guy? So it wasn't luck. Like, I mean, obviously luck is always in fantasy, but I'm proud of the team I built and the team that I continued to build. So I earned that win.
Yeah.
It was good. And that was the year that Peyton Manning had his plantar fasciitis issue.
Ooh,
And
yeah.
my quarterbacks were Marcus Mariota and Carson Palmer. And Carson had the career year that year.
Hey, you're a natural. You are a
I mean,
natural.
it was meant to be.
So you hated it so much, you loved it. What
I
was
hated
it
it.
what was it that hooked you that actually brought you back? Was it just
The win.
the
I
competition,
love
the win?
winning.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, man, this wasn't that hard.
Oh, funny.
No, it's
So
awful. It's still awful. I love it and I hate it all at the same time.
so is there one league that you consider like your main leagues right now?
Like if I had to pick one, I don't know. I mean, the Scott Fishbowl League is always like pretty high priority. I mean,
Yeah.
that's, like if I was to win one, I would say I would like to win that one.
Would you walk away from that one? Would you retire on top then?
If I won,
Yeah.
like, would I never play fantasy again?
Yeah, like, I'm done, like, I've reached the pinnacle.
I think it would be the ultimate mic drop moment.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, if
yeah,
I was to want to walk away, that would be the precipice of my fantasy career. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you gotta consider all your options when you reach the pinnacle of something like
Right,
that.
right. Like, where is there to go from there?
So what makes fantasy leagues fun to you?
Hmm. I think people have a different idea of fun. No, it
Torture, this
is
is torture.
gosh, I know. I have such a strange opinion of fantasy. It is fun, but it is a lot of work. And especially when you're crazy and you keep adding all these leagues. I mean, I probably have 20 leagues, maybe slightly more than that. I don't know. I don't count on purpose because what I don't know won't hurt me. So it is a lot of work, but I do like the challenge and I enjoy it's a hobby that my husband and I have. And, you know, that's something that, we have together that we come home and we talk about. And we're always like, talking about our different drafts because we're not in a lot of leagues together. We are in,
Yeah.
a few, but we have lots of different ones. So that part of it is fun, like us being able to share and give each other advice. Although we try not to do that too much because it just causes fights.
Sure, sure, for sure. You're fighting over players'
Yeah, I'm like,
rankings, I love
sabotage. You told
it.
me the wrong guy.
Yeah, yeah, that's even worse. So what are your favorite league settings and formats in fantasy?
Uh, I I like a pretty simple league. I do not get too crazy because my brain just can't venture out too far. So I like a pretty straightforward league. I prefer to not play with a defense or a defensive player. Sorry to all you IDP peeps out
Yeah.
there. I haven't really ventured. I've done very basic, like one defensive player in a league. So I haven't ventured into that.
Okay.
And yeah, so just like real basic PPR. I'm okay with a kicker, but I totally am fine not having a kicker. I hate playing with the defense because they're just so hard to like predict.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I do like a tight end premium, but I'm perfectly fine not having a tight end premium. Super flex. I don't know. I like a little bit of a mixture, but I don't like to stray too far.
Sure, sure. And then yeah, with defenses, it's to me, it's worse not picking or missing or getting right your own defense. It's when you lose because someone else's defense scores 25
Oh,
points. It's like
yeah.
that.
It's like that just
No,
feels like
no.
cheating.
Yeah, it is. It truly, I think it is cheating.
Yeah.
I think it's cheating technically.
Yeah, so,
Uh,
like, usually if I'm in a league, it's like I haven't really looked before I'm like, "Yeah, sure, I'll play," and I get in there, I'm like, "Oh, we have to play a defense."
of course, of course. Now, I'm going to ask you a little bit about the fantasy football community. You keep
Yeah.
diving into this whole world. Before I do that, I got another question for you. Why did the Scarecrow win an award?
Why?
Because he was outstanding in his field.
Oh, man. I
There we go.
didn't expect
There we
this
go.
from you.
That's pretty good. So when did you discover the fantasy community and what inspired you to just get involved?
That is a $1,000,000 question. I honestly feel like I have found this on accident, kind of. I got involved couple of years ago with the Rank Draft Trade podcast. We were trying to get it out. Like we have a small network of people that we play in a lot of free leagues. And so we did a lot of stuff in this like small network of people. And then I was like, Nick, we probably need to kind of get it out there if we want some listeners. And so I did not have much experience on Twitter or X or whatever we want to call it. Uh, I just really didn't understand it. I was like, I don't know what to do there. But we got onto X to try to get the word out about that Rank Draft Trade podcast. And I stumbled into this community of fantasy footballers that I really didn't realize was so large and
Yeah.
wonderful and friendly. So that is what kind of got me into that fantasy football community. And then I have to say the Scott Fish Bowl. I mean, 100%. So funny story about Scott Fishbowl. I didn't know what the Scott Fishbowl was a couple of years ago. My first year was 12. So I've done 12, 13, and then 14 this year. And my husband had been trying to get in for, I don't know, like 6 years or something. I mean, for a while. And he's like, hey, I want you to try something. And he's like, will you apply to get into this Scott Fishbowl League? And I was like, what is this? Like, I don't need another league. And he's like, oh, it's a charity event. I've been trying to get into it for a long time. And I was like, sure, yeah, whatever. So I put my application in, and apparently I had actually been invited, but I'm terrible at looking at emails. And
Okay.
so I didn't know I got an invite. And then I get a DM one day and they're like, hey, so you got invited to the Scott Fishbowl. We need you to pick a division. And I was like, oh, I think this is this thing that my husband wanted me to apply for. So I like screenshotted it. I went to my email and I was like, I got an invite. So I screenshotted that and I sent it to my husband. I was like, I think I got in that fishbowl thing.
Wow.
And he's like, unbelievable. Like, I cannot believe you got in.
That is so
So
awesome.
you do all the hashtag SFB, and that is really where like in one day I had like 100 people follow me because I was like, hey, I got this invite. Cool. So that I feel like really catapulted me into the fantasy football community. And then last year, I did really, really well in the Scott Fish. My first year was like embarrassingly bad. Like we should just forget that happened. It's fine. It was practice year. I was on the MFL network, and no disrespect, but I did not. I am not familiar with that platform.
Yeah.
I everything mobile. Like I'm on my phone and it's not a real mobile friendly app. And I didn't even know. I'm like, how do I even pick a guy on waivers?
Yeah.
So it was just
Yes.
very, very complicated for me.
Yes.
So last year, moving on to Sleeper, all the difference in the world. And I spent a good majority of the season top 10, and I even made it into like the top 3. It was crazy. Like, it was the wildest ride. So that got me some attention in the fantasy football community, and JC at the Sports Affiliation kind of took me under his wing. And then I've just met people through that. So that's really what has introduced me into the fantasy football community.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, people have a lot of things to thank Scott Fishbowl or
He's
Scott Fish
amazing.
for, but
Yeah.
that's pretty awesome. That's a
Yeah,
really cool story.
He's incredible. Yeah.
So how about getting involved with like women of fantasy football? Like how's that been for you and connecting with people in the space?
Yeah, that has been really amazing as well. I've met some really, really awesome women, really talented fantasy football. Like some of them intimidate me, the knowledge. I'm just like, oh, I can never be like you. But I definitely like met a lot of them in person at the expo. Unwind, what Rachel's doing with Unwind has been really cool, and being able to get on Zoom calls and meet different people. I was able to meet Roxanne when I was out in Denver. I was out there for my daughter's softball tournament, and I posted something on Twitter. I mean, here's the wonderful world of Twitter, right? Yeah. So I'm like, I posted a picture of the crazy horse that's out in front of the Denver airport. And I was like, what city am I in? And Roxanne's like, Denver, I live 20 minutes from there. Let's get together and do dinner. So Monday night, I'm meeting Roxanne. I was like, absolutely. And then Scott Fishbowl, the live draft was in Denver, and she's like, you should come hang out. So I met her because she was drafting live. And so I went over there. So I met some more people. But the women have just been amazing. And it's like finding your people. Yeah. So I'll be honest, not many people I'm surrounded by, especially women, have any idea about this crazy world of fantasy football. And I'm pretty sure between my Debbie Gibson obsession and my fantasy football obsession, people think I should be committed at this point.
I love it.
So we were riding in the car at the expo, and it was me and Roxanne and Angie. And we were on our way to the Queen's Classic, and we're sitting there talking about drafting and all of this fantasy football lingo. And there's like 3 women in the car, and we all know what we're talking about. And we're all just kind of like, we found our people. So it's nice to not have people looking at you like you're crazy and not understanding, like, why do you like this? Like, what is it? So it's just nice to be around that. So that's one of the nice things about the women in fantasy football, is that you don't have to worry about feeling judged for your obsession in fantasy football.
That's great. So
Yeah.
what's been the most rewarding part of this journey, this experience in the fantasy community for you?
Definitely the relationships. I'm funny because I'm an introvert and an extrovert all at the same time. So I am a social person, but it takes a little bit. But it's been so nice to have people that you build real friendships and real relationships within this community. It's not just about fantasy football. It's literal friendships that you make. And so I think that has been what has been most rewarding.
Yeah, I know it is a pretty amazing community. I love the events like the expo because you see people from every corner of the
Yeah.
country and world. Kind of, I mean, it's people coming from far away, different backgrounds.
Oh my gosh.
Everybody's
Yeah.
unique, but everybody comes together. Common love of football, but you find those connections, and it's
Yeah.
great. I've obviously seen tons of personal relationships and professional relationships formed at the expo, and I think it's testament to the awesome people in this community. What are your short and long term goals in this space? Where do you kind of see yourself going? Or are you just going along for the ride?
I'm winging it.
Yeah,
I am just winging it. I don't know, because I really ask myself daily, like, how I got here, and I don't have an answer for that. So I don't want to put any pressure on myself. Like, I want this to be fun, and I want
yeah,
it to be you know, lighthearted in my life, and not weigh me down or feel like a job.
yeah,
But I am enjoying doing content. I'm enjoying just the game of fantasy football. I do enjoy giving people advice or helping. I don't always feel it. That's an insecurity of mine. I have opinions, but I don't always feel like I didn't come from this background of knowing everything about football.
yeah,
And so I do get intimidated easily, that I hear people who, can name an entire roster of players and know who the backup of the backup of the backup, and I'm over here like, I'm not sure if that guy gets injured, who I'm going for, I'm gonna have to do a little research on that. Statistics and stuff like that. It's not my thing. That's not really where I try to keep things more simple and streamlined. So my opinions and my answers are a little more simple. Um, but I enjoy all of that. So yeah, I don't know what my long-term goals, I guess, to meet as many people in the fantasy community as humanly possible, and to make people laugh, which I successfully did at the expo.
you
Uh,
did for sure, for sure.
I don't think I've
So
ever
so
laughed
yeah,
that
so with
hard.
with the community, and obviously the expo is a great place to go to meet people. What was your favorite part of the expo? Like what was your favorite event? What was that experience like for you?
The expo was just, oh gosh, it's hard to even put it into words. Uh, it's amazing. Like, I highly, highly recommend anybody out there who even has an inkling of a thought of, yeah, maybe I'd want to go to that. Like, no, you want to go to that.
Yeah,
Um, everything about it was fun. I loved probably the socializing at, the parties, just being able to meet the people who you've been talking to and conversing with on the internet, like putting a
yeah,
real face to those people. I didn't get to go to like the flag football. I did see a little bit of the cornhole. I saw a little bit of the beer pong. The expo itself, I got to walk around that. I think the highlight was probably getting to draft in the Queen's Classic. That was
yeah,
completely unexpected, and I was kind of like, did you hit around, Gina?" That was pretty awesome. I
yeah. No,
sitting amongst those other, absolute amazing women in fantasy football was pretty cool. I'd love to take that belt from Linda. I love you, Linda. I'm coming for you.
I love it. Yeah, I mean,
Wear that belt. Did you see
oh,
her wear that belt? Like,
oh
she
yeah,
had bruises. I mean, I
oh
don't
yeah,
know. Like,
yeah,
that's commitment. I don't
yeah.
think I could do that.
Yeah, she wasn't messing around with that thing. Like it was, yeah, that was again trophy smack. They know how to put together products. Those belts are amazing. But yeah, the Queen's Classic, the King Classic events, um, Draft Night Out is a fun event if you get to stop
Yeah.
by that. The cool thing about the expo is that yes, you always come back, or you always want to come back because of the experience. And when you do come back, it's just better and better each year because you make these connections, you meet these people. It's more just like a family reunion
Right.
at this point, a family you like too. So
That is the perfect way to explain it, actually. And I have told people the overall feeling is family reunion, but family that you like.
yes,
I mean, you say
yes.
family reunion, people are like, no,
Well,
no, no. This
yeah.
is like pick your favorite family members, and you are getting together with those people who you haven't seen in a year or maybe ever. And you're hanging out for a weekend, and the commitment on the level of party is just unmatched. Anything I've been a part of. Like, I was so thoroughly impressed.
Well, I think
Just playing
people.
wiffle ball in the street at 3
Oh,
a.m. I was
that
like,
was yeah. It's
I
pretty
was
spectacular.
I was in dreamland. I will have you know, I woke up the next morning and I see on Twitter, I'm like, wow, a lot
Yeah,
happened after I went
that
to bed.
yeah. It's like a fantasy football fantasy, and it's if it's family reunion, it's 800 people or more. That
Yeah.
it's just special, and you don't want it to end. That's why you sacrifice some sleep to get it accomplished. But it's great. And then
Yeah.
once it's over, you think, oh gosh, I wish I would have talked to this person, that person. But come back the next year, and you'll make sure it happens. So great event, definitely highly recommended as well. Let's talk a little bit about the season. We got a season coming up, 2024. Before we get into that, though, I got another question for you. What do
These
you call
questions.
what? Yeah, what do you call fake spaghetti?
I'm gonna get one of these. What do you call fake
You
spaghetti?
call it an impasta.
Hey, did you hear the rumor about butter?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, I don't want to spread it.
Okay, that's good. That's good. That's it's kind of what I expect. That's solid. That's impressive. That's impressive. So what are you looking forward to in this season coming up?
Winning.
Yes, I believe
Winning.
that.
I'm really excited to see, like, are fantasy wise or just
Yeah,
football
just
wise.
football's coming. Like what gets you most excited about the football season ahead?
Seeing players that I want to hit. Like, I'm a Curtis Samuel truther. So I have this thing, Nick, my podcast buddy, my fantasy, I call him my fantasy football husband. Like, because he is like the one that I go to for all the advice, so I don't have to worry about like being mad at my husband when he gives me the wrong advice. Um, he calls it the noble touch.
Oh,
So I have this uncanny ability to pick the most random of players, and they have fantasy relevance for some reason. So like Miles Gaskin. Okay. So Miles was a late round pick for me a few years back when he was with the Dolphins. And he was in every draft. Like, I would pick him like last round. I was like, oh, Smiles, the Smiles, because their running back field was really weird at the time. Like,
yeah.
somebody had to be a running back. And guess what? Miles ended up being the guy. And I was like, oh my God, like this guy's blowing up. So he got hot, and then he got cold real quick. But I took a liking. So if you ever see my like jokes about Miles Gaskin, that's where that comes from. So I have these weird, like, I pluck these players out, and then all of a sudden, like Noah Brown. Do you remember Noah Brown
Yeah.
last year had like a
Yeah.
couple of weeks after he
Yeah.
was injured, and he came back, and I'm like, look at Noah Brown blown up. The noble touch.
The noble
Curtis
touch. I love
Samuel.
it.
Yep. So
Yeah.
Curtis Samuel last year, actually, I was like, yeah, so I'm totally playing Curtis Samuel like every week. I even played him I had him on Scott Fish. I had any player that blew up. I even think I had Noah Brown for a hot minute while he was hot, because why wouldn't I? And every player that blew up, I had. And Curtis was one of those that I'm like, he's good. Like, you guys just wait. And then he went to Buffalo. And I was like, okay, like, who's catching the ball in Buffalo? Somebody's got to catch the ball, right?
Yeah.
Who's there? Mr. Curtis Samuel. So I really need Curtis to hit, because I bragged on Curtis a lot. So I need the Noble touch to remain a thing. So I'm looking forward to that, like maybe seeing some of those Noble touch predictions play out.
I love it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love hearing your description of your Scott Fish Bowl season and experience. So, hopefully you can hit on a bunch of them this year, because I look forward to hearing next year's version of that tale and that journey. Any
Yeah.
other players that you just want to jump ADP for to acquire this year in fantasy?
I'm not a big jumper. I'm not. I
Okay,
play value picks.
nice.
I'm not a big gambler, and I let other people pick 80 or jump ADP so I can scoop
Okay,
up the value. Obviously, so you could argue that Amon Ra, I was jumping ADP a little bit, but it's kind of funny. I think I talked about, like, I'm sorry, I'm taking the credit for Amon Ra blowing up, because I believed in him since my taxi squad his rookie year, when he was putting
ooh,
up, 20s and 30s. And I'm like, why do I not have this guy in my starting lineup? And everybody's like, it's just because everybody else is injured. Like, nah, he's nothing. And then the next year, I'm like, oh, is he still nothing? Because he's still putting up 20s and 30s. And I, like, early this year, when people were just starting to draft, I was like, you know what? I don't care. I'm taking Amon Ra as my first wide receiver. I don't care. You guys can judge me if you want. Go ahead, take Lamb. Go ahead, take Justin Jefferson, Chase Hill, whoever you want. As far as all of those receivers go, they're all perfectly capable to be a wide receiver one. So I'm just
yeah,
going to take the guy I like. So he was maybe the only one. And then what's funny is, all of a sudden I see him start creeping up on everybody's list. And all of a sudden they have Amon Ra as like the top receiver. And I'm like, oh, so y'all were making fun of me when I was jumping the line on him, and now you all had to copy me? Okay.
so you are officially influencing ADP on Amon-Ra St. Brown.
100%.
I believe it. It would not surprise me a bit. So
Yeah.
I'm a fan. I think he's a hard worker. He is dedicated. He is gritty. He's awesome. So
He's
I don't mind
unique.
doing
He
that
is
for
unique.
sure.
I'm assuming you watched him on receivers.
Oh yeah, what a
Like,
guy.
he doesn't
Yeah,
play. Like,
yeah,
borderline terrifying.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah. Pretty intense.
intense is definitely one way to put it. But but that commitment, I mean, you don't have to worry about Amon Ra, like getting in trouble for speeding and having a court case
Yeah,
lingering overhead. You don't have to worry about him getting in trouble because he's not disciplined. I mean, the guy is disciplined to a fault.
yeah.
So and so caught 200 balls a day, so you're going to catch 202.
Yep.
That's the guy that I want number one for my receivers, because he's putting in the work. And
There you
he's
go. I
not
love it.
going to stop until he's number one.
No, he's got that in him. I think that's the one player to jump ADP for.
Yeah.
St. Brown. There you go.
Yeah, everybody else, I'm a value. I mean, I really am looking until I
The
get to
best.
like kind of the turdy picks,
Sure, sure.
really, and you're like just polishing turds at that point.
The dirty
You
picks.
know? Like,
That's
at the end of the
okay.
day, they're just polished turds, but they're
Yeah,
really a turd.
yeah, 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 yeah. It's
Jump a
yeah, for
little,
sure.
because like, what does it matter?
I love it. Well, let's dive into some rapid fire questions. I'll just throw out some questions. Let me know what first comes to mind. What do you enjoy most about what you're doing in the fantasy community at this time?
I don't know. I enjoy the whole thing as a whole. just kind of like finding my way, like my purpose in the fantasy world and sort of creating that little niche for myself, I guess. It's sort of happening very organically, and I think I'm enjoying that side of
It's great. It's great. What areas in life do you possess the most wisdom?
it. Well, as a matter of fact,
Mhm.
I do have all four of my wisdom teeth. So I do have a ton of wisdom.
There
Um,
you go.
and rumor has it you have all four of your
I
wisdom
got them
teeth.
all. I got all four. I think that wisdom is something that you just gotta value. You gotta hold on to, obviously,
Yeah.
because it's fleeting. A lot of people don't have that much wisdom. So,
I mean, so between the two of us, we're exploding with wisdom.
oh my gosh, what are your favorite hobbies and activities outside of fantasy sports?
Yeah, I actually so another thing, my husband is kind of brilliant. Like I see it now, his plan, and he's like, like, so he got me into golf. Like he
Oh,
was a big
nice.
golfer, and golf takes up a lot of time on a Sunday or whatever. And so sometimes after you're married, it's hard to get away in golf because it's an all-day event. So what does he do? He's like, honey, you want to learn how to golf? And of course, going back to my athletic background, I'm like, yeah, I want to learn how to golf. I want to be on the LPGA. Like, let's do this. So he got me into golf. So we do enjoy golfing. My oldest is a very good softball player. She actually
Okay.
just we just dropped her off at college at Florida Southwestern in Fort Myers, and she's playing softball down there. But prior to college, we spent many, many weekends on a softball field, and I absolutely love watching that kid play. So
Love
that
fun.
that's something I enjoy. I'm a crafter. I like crafting, although these days I haven't had much time to do crafting. Yeah,
How about an all-time favorite TV show?
Saved by the Bell.
Oh, hey, that's a good one. That's a good one. That's
Yeah,
definitely
yeah.
one of the best. How about an all-time favorite movie?
I gotta. Oh gosh, there's a few, but I have to go with the classic, The Wizard of Oz.
Hey, that's
Yeah,
amazing.
that is like the ruby slippers. I love. Do you remember? I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much I don't know, even talked before the last night of the expo, but like, I'm pretty sure my outfits revolved around having rhinestones or glitter somewhere on my being.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I didn't intend on doing that, but then
Yeah.
when I realized like what I packed, I was like, every day I can wear some piece that's got glitter or rhinestones, and that can be my thing. So I
And
did.
if if you didn't have a good experience, you just tap your feet together, right?
There's no
And
place like home.
there's no place like home. So,
Yeah,
and
except
I'm
for
sure, yeah,
fantasy
I'm sure,
football
yeah, when you
expo.
got home, you probably said, "Oh, there's no place like home. This is great."
There's no place like my bed.
Yeah, 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 exactly. How about a favorite sports movie?
Oh, Days of Thunder.
Okay, all right. No,
I
it's
do
good.
love
It's a
Days
good
of
movie.
Thunder.
It's a good movie. Now,
Or Field of Dreams is another one. I know
oh,
I should be coming
yeah,
out with some football movie, but I got to be
no,
honest, I haven't
no.
watched a lot of. Oh, you know what? What was the Kurt Warner? What was the movie about Kurt
Oh,
Warner?
the name escapes me right now, but
Okay.
yeah, 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 yeah,
That was an incredible movie. I
yeah,
watched it on a flight to Colorado for softball, and I bawled my eyes out.
yeah,
That I was like, "Oh my god, I love Kurt Warner. He's my
yeah.
favorite."
That's good.
Yeah, that was a
Yeah,
good one.
beautiful story for sure,
Yeah,
for
it
sure.
was amazing.
So, who's your favorite artist, band, musician? I mean, you mentioned Debbie Gibson earlier. Do we just need to go there?
100% Debbie
Okay.
Gibson.
Then
Like,
what's
you might not
what's the best
know,
Debbie Gibson song?
Lost in Your Eyes is my
Totally.
all-time, like, favorite of
Yeah.
all time.
Okay.
I mean, I've been to Hawaii to see Debbie Gibson.
Hey, much respect to Debbie Gibson.
I'm in her
Much respect.
VIP club, and Debbie follows me on Instagram, like, we're friends.
No judgment whatsoever. She's an American icon.
Pop yeah, she was the OG pop queen, like, move over Taylor Swift. Debbie paved the way.
Yeah, who are you even? Like, I mean, the
Yeah.
people that came before you. I mean, Taylor Swift. What's her best album? What's her best song?
Oh, I don't know. We need to skip this question.
So she's not on your playlist, huh? Just
No offense. Anybody can love who they want. I'm Debbie. Debbie and New Kids on the Block.
Okay. I mean, I remember New Kids on the
Don't get
Block.
me canceled. You're going to get me canceled with that question.
No, it's people can appreciate that because of the dedication you have with Debbie Gibson. You mentioned New Kids on the Block. I mean, I remember in elementary school, all the girls, they loved. I just couldn't stand. I could not stand Joey. But nowadays, I respect
Joey, he was
because they.
was
Oh,
there
he's
a
my
little
nemesis.
jealousy about
Joey,
Joey?
big time.
Yeah.
Big time.
All the girls loved Joey.
Oh, I know. It was
Jordan.
a serious thing in life. So down
It
with
was
Joey,
Jordan for me.
you were a Jordan.
Joey and Debbie do Lost in Your Eyes duet.
I mean, I can't.
They're best
I
friends.
can't believe I have not heard that.
Oh,
So
okay. Well,
what if? Sorry, we're getting way off track, but that's okay.
Yeah,
what if someone came to you and said like, "No, that's fine." Like, what if there's like a Tiffany truther and is like, "No, she's the best." What's your rebuttal to that?
So first of all, that it's so funny to me that when I mention Debbie Gibson, there is always that one heckler that's like, Tiffany was better. And I'm like, why can't the two things be mutually exclusive? Like, why can't Tiffany have had her moment and Debbie had her moment? Now, here's the thing. They're not like, people wanted to make them rivals, but they were not rivals. They were friends. They were fine. I will say this, my rebuttal based on facts is Debbie Gibson actually still has the record, or she was the youngest singer, songwriter, producer of all time. Still to this day, she was 15 years old when she wrote, performed her number one hits, and she had multiple number one hits at 15. Tiffany was singing what, Beatles songs? Like, I think I'm Alone Now, isn't that a Beatles song?
Yeah, I mean, she's got one song. She pretty much, you might as well just put her with all the one hit wonders. Yeah.
So Debbie is a highly, highly talented singer songwriter, and I mean, but Tiffany was fun. She was poppy. She had her minute. That's great, but no comparison.
There you go. So moving on, why don't skeletons fight each other?
Oh God, why don't skeletons fight each other?
They don't have guts. So
you really did some joke research.
I did. Now, next one. Can you name a song that has the same tune as the ABCs?
Twinkle, twinkle, little star.
Okay, that's good. I thought you might say. Yeah. I was gonna say, what's your all-time favorite nursery rhyme?
Listen, everybody is like, oh my God, I forgot that was even a song. Kind of like we did that night. Like, I don't know where I pulled Frere Jacques from, but I did.
That's pretty awesome. So next up, what's your favorite vacation you've ever been on?
Vacation. I've been on a vacation. When's the last time I went on a vacation? Canton, Ohio.
There you go.
Well, the trip to see Debbie at Oahu in Honolulu was pretty freaking unreal. But my honeymoon, like, that was amazing. We went on a cruise and that was a lot of fun. Also, so Disney World, my husband actually proposed to me on Christmas Day in Disney World. That was a pretty epic. So those two have to hold the top spot, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And he told me forever, because it took him forever. It was like we were dating for like 5 years or something, and I'm like, is this happening sometime soon? He told me forever he would never propose to me on Christmas Day, and I believed him. So we went down there, and my parents and his parents came, And I was like, "Oh, it's not going to happen on Christmas," because he has literally told me forever, like, don't get your hopes up. It's not happening on Christmas. And then, so have you ever been to Disney?
Yeah.
Okay. Like, you have to have an itinerary by the minute.
Oh yeah,
If
for
you
sure.
don't, like, forget it. You're not successfully navigating Disney. Have you ever been to Disney on Christmas?
No, that's I've been a million times, but never done Christmas.
Don't do
It's
it.
definitely on the bucket list, but
No,
yeah.
no,
But
I think you
yeah.
should absolutely remove it from your bucket list
Oh
unless
really?
something magical like getting engaged is happening while you're there.
Okay. Because it's chaos.
No, it is literally like wall to wall, shoulder to shoulder people.
Yeah.
It's not really like a fun experience on Christmas, but I was like, we gotta go, we gotta go, we gotta go. And he's like, hey, maybe we can like stop here and get some pictures. And I was like, we don't have time for pictures. And oh, we gotta get to Thunder Mountain. Like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, I got a present for you for Christmas. I'm like, we weren't doing Christmas presents. Like, this is our Christmas present. And then he's like getting down on a knee, and I'm like, what are you doing? He pulls the box out, he opens it up, and I'm like, oh my God. Like, I had no idea whatsoever.
That's
it was a
awesome.
mess. And then after that, I was like, I don't even care if we ride another thing. Like, I'm done.
That's awesome. It's a great story. I think that's awesome.
And
So I
amazing.
can see why those are,
Yeah.
top of the list.
Top vacations. Yeah.
There you go. So now, what are you most grateful for at this time?
My family, my health. I mean, all the things, but yeah, just grateful for our many blessings every day. I mean, it's easy to overlook the simple things in life, and I, have to take a step back and remind myself that even through the tough times, like, it could be a lot worse. So definitely grateful for that. Just daily life, being healthy, getting to walk through, life with my best friend and have two amazing kids, and my parents, and everybody. So that's a little, little
Perfect. No, that's a
bit.
great perspective. Great
Yeah.
perspective. Now, what advice do you have for people that want to get more involved in the fantasy community? You've done a great job, like getting in, kind of meeting people and doing your thing. What advice do you have for someone who wants to get more involved in the community?
Yeah, so definitely just jump in. Sleeper is a fantastic app if you're just getting into fantasy, as a way to find leagues. I mean, you can go into the forums on Sleeper, and there's hundreds of leagues to get involved in. Ask in your community, because you may be surprised at how many people are involved in fantasy football and you had no idea. Your neighbor next door probably plays fantasy football, but it's never come up in conversation. So definitely, I mean, and those are the most fun leagues, right? Like,
Yeah.
those leagues that you can get together and know the people in them and really talk smack to each other.
Yeah.
Twitter is, or X, a fantastic world of analysts and creators and just fantasy football enthusiasts, and people who know a lot about fantasy. I mean, they don't even have to be anybody. There's people who are just super smart. Um, Listen to people who research and do the heavy lifting for you. So I'll fully admit, I'm not like super football smart. I just learn how to use my resources. So
Hmm.
I have really smart fantasy football friends. And then I have, places that I go on the internet, and smart people who've done the footwork for me. I don't have that time. I have a
Yeah.
full-time job. I'm a mom, I'm a wife. I've got things going on. I don't have time to sit down and run numbers and look at all of this stuff. So, yeah, don't be ashamed to get on. And there's people literally giving you this information at your fingertips. They're doing that for you to benefit. Use it. It's not cheating. It's 100% doing what you don't have the time to do. So,
That's
utilize
that.
the resources.
Yeah, no, I mean that is a really great answer. I've done a lot of these interviews. I haven't got an answer quite like that. And I think that's such a vital message to people that love this game, because everyone's got lives and they're busy, and that's what fantasy football resources are all about, to do the work for you
Yeah.
in the way that you tap into to your resources here, there, and everywhere. It helps you win championships and have a good time
100%.
playing the game. I love it. That's
Yep.
wonderful stuff. Gina, this was so much fun. Is there anything we haven't covered that you want to share before we close things out?
Well, did you hear the joke about pizza?
No, I didn't.
And never mind. It's kind of cheesy.
Oh my gosh, you got that's a good one. Add that one to the list. Can you
Oh. One
share with the
more thing.
listeners? Okay, what do you got?
Did you hear about the new Pirates movie?
No, I did not.
Oh, well, it's rated R because there's too much booty in it.
I mean, this is you can't not enjoy this, right? So everybody out there, make
Ultimate
sure you're
dad
following
joke
Gina.
segment.
Oh my gosh. Well, can you tell listeners and viewers where to find you so they can enjoy life at a higher level, because you're just making them laugh?
Oh, you know what? My parents say they broke the mold after I was born because the world can only have one of me.
The
And
one and
if
only.
you want more of that, you can find me on Twitter at NobleG_FF. I'm available. Feel free to ask me any questions about advice. And I'm not like super analytical with that stuff. I actually find that my strong suit is keeping it simple. Sometimes I feel like there's an over analysis of this stuff, and you can lose the simplicity of sometimes just going in and making those simple answers in fantasy football. So I like to think that's where I come in, is I'm like, okay, you can run all the numbers that you want, but the fact of the matter is everybody is injured over here. And you might be playing Barrios this week because he's the only guy they're throwing the ball to. So find me on Twitter. That's where I'm most prevalent in fantasy football. And then I mean, I'm on Sleeper too, but there's unless you're in a league with me, I'm not really like on any forums.
I love it. Well, keep it simple. I think it's a great message.
Yeah.
Thank you again for joining me on this episode. It's an absolute pleasure to meet you in Canton, and obviously a great times ahead. I look forward to everything you got going ahead of you in 2024 and beyond. One more question though. Why did the cookie go to the doctor?
I know this one because he felt crummy.
There you go. That's a good one. I knew you'd get that one.
Well, thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun, and it was so amazing meeting you in Canton and everybody in Canton. And I'm so looking forward to next year now that I know what to expect.
There you go. That helps.
I'm gonna prime for that.
I love it.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Football Unlimited podcast. Until next time, be sure to follow and subscribe to all of FFU's social media accounts for daily content.